Hi, hello, namaste. Welcome to hashtag Caffeinated, where we brew conversations to the heart. So, in today's episode, we have this cool guy who likes being addressed as the Guynecologist, Dr. Arvindh Santhosh, with us today. A doctor, a professor, a podcaster, as he says, always a learner.
Thank you so much for having me here, Yash, Vidya, and Ishwar. It's so nice to be talking to my old podcast friends. Being in something like a podcast and an interview show, we talk about my favorite topics about menstruation, sex education, and so on. Thanks for having me, man.
We are very happy to have you with us. Very different topic that we
Yeah.
chose today. So, yeah, are you ready?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
This is my
Okay.
livelihood. You understand that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go first. Basically, like Yash said, today's topic is going to be a tough call because we are trying to break some stereotypes here. So why don't I start with the same question actually? Why has society made menstruation a taboo?
Okay. So this is actually a very long history of what is a patriarchy and religion oppressing women, right? So when you see, like I'm not at point to point any one particular religion, because almost all religions have been a patriarchal religion, and they had each of them had their own cultures in which there were many forms of oppression, and one of them were supposedly reproductive oppression of women. Like, for example, you can't go to the temple when you're menstruating, or they brand a woman who's menstruating as impure, right?
Yeah.
Or they make women undergo a very harsh procedures called genital mutilations because they are attain menarche, so that they preserve their purity for their husband. So, like
Yeah.
this happens. This there is history of every women undergoing some sort of oppression by patriarchy and religion throughout the world in different parts of the in different parts and different ways. So that is why over a period of many millennia, this has become a taboo topic. Like women and men are not able to freely vocalize about their menstrual education, menstrual health, or sexual health, or sexual issues, and so on forth.
It's a great shame that everybody thinks purity lies in the private part of the body.
Yeah, exactly. That is a very, it's actually a misnomer. It's irony, if you ask me.
And also, Arvind, as you said, one of the main reason for this ignorant kind of mindset is sex education. So, as we were not very well taught about in school, and it had been a kind of secret for everyone. Like everyone wanted to explore more, but they didn't know anything about it. And so the fun part, so the jokes and all. So, what are some particular things that you think that that should be taught in the school and should be made clear to the students at their initial stages?
The thing is, like, sex education as a whole is a very important part of school. So we had our friend who had this podcast about students, this to skeptical students show, right? So he called me out to talk about sex education. He had the same question he asked me, like, why what do we talk about sex education in school, right? To understand this, we just need to, again, like, I am a very big fan of history, okay, because like many of the questions answers lies in the past. For example, no, like when you take Romeo and Juliet, right? The most famous love epic, or whatever you want to call it. The Romeo was like 13, 14 when it came out. Like when and then that story, he was like 14, 15 years old. And Juliet was like 13 years old. Okay. So they were teenagers. Okay, so what it means, what it shows is that just not just this particular story. Many stories, if you take, no, like you take all these stories, it will tell you that we have been sexually active at a very young age, right?
Yeah.
So when women attain menarche, and when boys attain puberty, like once they start growing up, maturing, they are able to reproduce. They're able to make miniature versions of themselves, right? So the body itself is programmed in such a way that once you attain menarche, or once you like go through puberty, you are made, or like you are thought that you should go and reproduce. That is why the hormonal levels come up, and that is why you get attracted to the opposite sex, right? So this is nature's way of ensuring that reproduction happens and the species continues. So this is a very, very normal physiological response, right? And because of development, because of modern times, that particular age in our lives, like teenage period, we are spending that in school. Okay,
Yeah.
so that does not mean that we are not going to have urges just because we're in school. Everyone would have had urges when they were in school because it is normal. So if you don't have any urges, it means that something is wrong with you, like your hormonal system is not working properly, or you have something wrong with your brain, right? So if
Yeah.
you not had that phase in life where you're not attracted to someone, or any person, or like you're not sexually attracted, it means that there's something wrong with you. So if you consider all these things, you can very well say that sex education is best done when you are in school. It makes sense now. No, like when you're attracted to someone, that is when you need to tell someone to tell you that this is normal, that this is fine. This is because then it is nature's way of telling you that you are ready to reproduce. But still, society does not allow that now because you are not ready in a psychological or economical or a financial manner. So that you grow up, you make sure that you have like come to a status in society that you are earning, so that you can support a family, not just like giving birth to a child. Okay, that is what exactly needs to happen. Okay, and in for the entire, this is the big picture. So for that, you need to give small like chapters for of sex education throughout their entire schooling. Just not should be just one chapter or one lesson in the entire 12 years of schooling, right? It has to happen like when you have science, or when you have maths, you start with basics and then you go into in depth of each of that once you graduate every single grade. The same
Yeah.
way you just talk about like how you're feeling, or about how what is normal, what is an attraction, or what is love, what is infatuation, and then about like different like organ systems, and then you talk about how sex happens in a gradual way so that they understand what is going on. So this is why you need sex education. You also need counseling. You need like psychologists and child psychiatrists to help you out. Okay, we need them to like to open up to children. We need the children to open up to us to tell them what they are going through exactly, because there are many children who are being abused, who have been abused by some known person or some unknown person or someone in the school. Because like we get patients, okay, I work in a government setup, and like we get patients who are 16, 15 years girls who are abused by like their own relatives, or someone who's working in the school, their own teacher, or one of their van drivers or van cleaners. Some that happens a lot. So we need to make that preemptive step to give them what they deserve, so they can protect themselves and they can lead a very healthy and happy life. Because see, once something happens to that child, that is going to go in that child's mind, and that is going to cause a trauma which is going to be psychological. It's going to scar her mind for the entire life. Okay, so once that happens, imagine that girl's future, that girl or guy's future, when they try to get into a relationship or when they try to get married. So what amount of psychological trauma they would have undergone? Because I know people who had lost interest in getting into relationships because they had a childhood trauma. Okay, so and they are now people who are like around in their late 20s and 30s, and there are people are asking them to get married, but then they are really scared because they have had a lot of trauma in the childhood. Okay, so this is like not just about sex education. This is not just about one person talking about sex in school. It is about the entire society developing in a normal and a functional manner, so that they can be very good like people in the society, and they can like, develop society as a whole. That's what I feel. So you can't just like separate these things into different small topics and then tell, okay, I've done this in my school. I took my class. I taught sex education in school, just one lecture. That does not work. That is not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
Wow, that is actually very clear and precise explanation.
That
Clearly
is a very
explained.
important aspect to think about, right?
The logic which I've been hearing since a very long time when it's about sex education is that, sex education actually kills the innocence of a child. I've been hearing this quite often, and it's
Mhm.
really meaningless.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like I haven't heard this in my schooling or per se, but then like I've heard people tell that sex education kills innocence. See, there's nothing about wrong. It's not about anything killing innocence here. Nothing wrong in that. See, as usual, like I told like every animal is going to reproduce. Okay,
Yeah.
you are gonna have animals going to reproducing because it is in their genes to procreate. Okay, so there is this very nice book called The Selfish Gene. Okay, it is written by a person called, I think, Richard Dawkins. Okay, so it's a non-fiction book. It's not actually a story book, but it's actually it's not a medical textbook also. It's something like for people who want to learn about gene, you can read like that. So that book actually tells you why, even though the gene, which is just a few atoms or molecules, okay, does not have a brain of its own, but it has made sure that its persistence in this world is going to be there forever, because it makes you to get into the act of reproduction. And that is not just for human beings, it is for every other animal. Okay, so it is going to be a process which is there for every other animal species. Any animal is going to go reproduce, and that is normal physiological response. It is not something to do with innocence or bad behavior. Okay, again, this is what patriarchy has instilled upon that. Now, when you try to merge two different things, and you attribute one character to a certain thing, and you make sure that you try to imply the other character is wrong. For example, when you say that being abstinent, not knowing about sex, is being innocent, it means that having sex is wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's no correlation between these two. There's no correlation between being abstinent, because just because you're abstinent doesn't mean that you're good. Just because you're abstinent doesn't mean that you're bad. Okay, that is why. Because like, so can you tell a dog which is having sex that it is a bad dog? Or you can tell a monkey which is having sex that you're a bad monkey. That doesn't, the monkey doesn't understand that. See, these are all social constructs, and you are using attributing a behavior to make sure that you know how you're controlling a person's behavior. Okay, you don't want people to have sex, and you want to control them. Okay, you don't want people to marry across your race, your religion, your caste, whatever. You're going to control them by telling them that this is wrong. You're losing your innocence and stuff like that. So this is actually a way of controlling people, if you ask me. This is not about what is right or what is wrong.
Totally. People being unaware of all these things, we usually don't talk about sex education or anything like that. And in families, usually, most of the menstruators describe their first period experience, which was very awkward. Everybody will be like, okay, nothing happened. You just hit you just got your first period and all. And totally the world changes after that for a girl. So what does this all portray actually?
See, this is actually a very nice question that you asked me. Okay, so to be frank, okay, so Ishwar, Yash, and I, we have not menstruated. Okay, so we have not been in that position to tell you what it is. So you would obviously be a better judge of that situation than all of us, especially me. Okay, so but the thing is, so this is something which every parent has to tell their child. Okay, I'm not talking about mother telling the daughters, not talking about dads telling the daughters. I'm talking about parents telling their children, meaning both boys and girls, that this is something which is happening as you grow older. Okay, the thing is, once you start telling it at an earlier age, I mean, like, you start preparing children that you are going to grow up, your body is going to change, and this is something which is going to happen. They will be mentally ready for it. Right? Children are exceptionally smart beings. Okay, you will not understand that how much the child is capable of understanding, learning, and how fast they can adapt to situations. They are very, very fast in learning and adapting. So once you tell them, you guide them in a proper manner, they will exceptionally work out what to do and what not to do, and they'll get back to you. The only thing is they require a very favorable environment for that to happen. Okay. This is as similar to learning any other thing. Okay. The topic today is because it's menstruation. We're talking in particular about menstruation. But if you tell a child that this is something that he or she is going to experience as you grow older, this is going to affect your life. This is going to change your life. But this is how something normal that every other person in the world is going to go through, and you tell them how to prepare for it. Okay, that can be menstruation for a girl, that can be like growing up, how like sudden appearance of facial hair for a guy. Okay, all that is going to matter. Okay, because like I remember when I was growing up, we used to get a lot of ads on shaving creams and gel and braces and stuff like that. Okay, I used to be curious. I mean, like suddenly what happens to our body that we suddenly start growing beards when we not have any facial hair or body hair whatsoever. Okay, see, there is curiosity in all children, and curiosity is normal. Okay, what happens is society as a whole, we are very scared about curiosity. We think that curiosity is something which is very, very bad. And as we grow older, no, our school, our education, it actually crushes our curiosity. There is this saying by Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't know if you know who he is. He's actually one of the astrophysicists in the US. So he tells that a child is actually a scientist who's curious and who learns, and a scientist is a person who still has this curiosity, who has not been crushed in childhood. Okay, so that is exactly how it works. So it's everybody is going to be curious. You just need to make sure that you take that energy and you divert it into a very healthy environment and make sure that they learn and they're going to like develop from that. And in with respect to perspectives, like if, for example, if you take an Indian family, right, for their in that family, the mother's most important worry is going to be if the girl does not start menstruating. Okay, she doesn't care if she menstruates, but if she does not menstruate, it's going to be a very big issue, right? And once when the girl starts menstruating, right, the initial 1 to 2 years is going to be very irregular. Okay, their bodies are very immature. The hormonal system is not very fine tuned for that particular person. So it's going to take at least 1 to 2 years for the periods to become regular to what they actually have in their entire adult life. So it's going to be a little bit of a turmoil for the girl. Okay, but the mother has to make sure that she understands that her role is very important, and she tells the child this is normal. And that is why actually we want to have more adolescent clinics in India. Okay, the concept of treating adolescent, both men and women, boys and girls, and that phase, that actually is a multi-modality, multidisciplinary team. Like it's gonna have a pediatrician, it's gonna have a gynecologist, it's gonna have a psychiatrist, a dermatologist. Because see, everything is gonna be a problem for them. Like acne for a teenager is gonna be the biggest worry in their entire life at that point of time. They don't understand about that acne is gonna fade away in 10 years. They don't look as far as 10 years. For them, tomorrow, acne is there. I have a function in school. Acne is very bad. My life is over. That is what their mental state is going to be at that particular point of time. So we need to address that. We need a psychiatrist to address that. We need a dermatologist to address that. Right. So like that is how medicine is evolving, and we need to bring that to India. I mean, like there are things like this abroad. India, not so much, but then like we have to do that in India. And if you have a particular example about like we have patients who don't have their menstruation, right? Like I told you, like they don't have their menstruation till they're 15, 16, or even 18 years of age. That is going to be a very big trauma for them to find out what is exactly wrong. Why did not have a menstruation till now? It is to the extent that we have found out that girls who do not menstruate, either they don't have their uteruses, they were born without one, or they are actually genetically men, but their body has some genetic issue or hormonal issue which makes them look like a woman. Okay, so it is as it can be very simple disorder, like that the girl is very obese, or she has a thyroid issue. That is very treatable. It's very, very treatable. To something very like very serious, like a person who's not having a uterus or is actually a male, but then who looks like a female because of their hormonal problem. Okay, so we work with that. This is what we work with when we see patients, right? So this is something which I think parents should understand, that there's a lot of things going on, and it's not like it's the end of the world for them. I know people who are successful in their life, who have a very good family life, sexual life, even though they have all this trouble. Okay, we just have to make sure that we guide children appropriately.
That is very true. And coming to this point, Arvind, I had this very thought running in my mind for many days, because this is something I wanted to discuss, but I couldn't find a proper source to discuss this. So, menstruators' first period is grandly celebrated in India, as we see that they celebrate it as a festival. They call their relatives, and there is a great pomp and show. But later, she's just thereafter. She's not allowed to talk about this. People are not allowed to talk with her about this topic. Also, she has many restrictions at home. So this feels quite contradicting. Don't you feel the same? I really don't understand this idea.
See, Yash, I think Vidya is smiling because she knows the answer to what the question is. The entire no, the purpose of that function is to advertise that I have a girl who's attained an age and like she's getting ready to get married. Okay,
Okay.
that is the entire purpose of that function in India. Okay, child marriage is very prevalent even now. I know people who are getting married at 15, 16 years of age. So the entire purpose of that function is to make sure that, see, at a lower level, in societies where child marriage is more common, prevalent, the function
Okay.
is to advertise that I have a child, I have a girl who's about to get, who's at the age who can get married. So everybody who wants to apply can apply. That is what it means. Okay.
That's it.
At a higher level of strata, at a higher society level, it is an advertisement to show off how much money I have. Okay.
Oh.
See,
Hmm.
because it
Yes.
is going to involve a lot of jewels. People are going to buy jewels for their child. They're going to buy more dresses. There's going to be an entire house which is like decorated, lit up. See, we Indians like to celebrate. Okay, we have no doubts about that. We like grand celebrations, grand weddings, everything and such. This is another reason to celebrate. That is it. But the underlying main point is they want to advertise that I have a girl who's ready to get married. Okay. And like you told, no, they just want to get her married. Once that is done, my problem is over. That is
Okay.
how India treats its women. Okay, that is why they don't care about whether the period is regular or not. If she's having any trouble, if she's having very much of a lot of pain when she's having menstruation, stuff like that. Because they don't care. They just want to get her married, get her out of the house, so that their responsibility is over. Because something happens to her. She goes out with some guy, or she is in love with the guy. She gets into a relationship with the guy. She's sexually active with the person. That is going to dishonor their entire family. That is what they are worried about. They're not worried about her getting a good alliance, her having a good life, or whether she wants to get married or not in the first place. See, there are so many things in life which the woman does not have an opportunity to talk about. Okay, their entire interest might have been something else. They might have want to have a career, something related to any other thing. They might have wanted to do fashion designing. They might have wanted to do this. They might have wanted to do that. They may even have wanted to get married, but then not at that particular point of time to not that person, right? They don't have any choice. That is why the celebration happens, but then they are not the stars of the celebration. Celebration is just to make sure that advertisement is done, money is spent, everybody knows that I have a girl to get married to.
Okay. Well, this looks quite harsh, but this is the truth. I
That
can.
is true. That is a, you see, truth
This
is
is the
harsh. You
Indian
have to
truth.
accept that.
Exactly.
Okay. So all these topics are surrounded with hell lot of myths. So would you like to mention some common myths and interesting facts about menses?
Common myths. I think, see, it's like there are so many myths, so I can't just point out this is a myth, this is a myth. Okay.
Sure.
Like, for example, like, I just told you, like, too many societies have too many, like, attributes to that. Like, you can't go to the temple, that you will have impure blood while you're. See, there's nothing called pure, impure, and all. Okay. There's nothing about that you should not eat this particular food, that particular food. You can eat whatever you want to. Okay, there are, see, you will have mood swings. Your hormonal levels is gonna be very it will be very high here and there. So you will have cravings for certain foods. That
Yeah.
is normal. Okay, everything is normal. So once let's say, like, people want to control, they're gonna tell you that this is a myth, that you should not wash your hair, that you'll get infection.
Mm.
No, definitely not. That you should not do this, you should not do that. Go to the temple. See, that's what, no, like, India is a country of pseudoscience. Okay, we love science, but we think that what science is, what our ancestors are told.